Hello again, YouTube! This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm here with Scribblenauts Unlimited. This is the Object Editor commentaries where I create your favorite characters in this game, Scribblenauts Unlimited, in the Object Editor. That's a feature only available on the Wii U and PC versions of this game. And so now we're starting off with a box as the source object, putting a circle over that for today's first object in a series of many items or characters or objects or whatever for today's creations. And so that's going to be the Plants vs. Zombies fog level plants. And so I choose basically every week what we create in this series based on whatever is most popular and most requested by you guys, the subscribers. And so we just put down a crinoid at the bottom down there, and then now I'm putting down a jellyfish's tentacle. The crinoid was basically those little plant roots and stuff down beneath the sea shroom. The jellyfish was the upper tentacle piece, and so it's the kind of straight black line that's near the jellyfish's body, but also in between that and the end of the tentacle itself. A sphere, which you're going to need to type in if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked. If you're in Scribblenauts Unlimited, you can just take it from the geometry library, but a sphere was actually of course, the cap right there, the helmet-looking cap there for the sea shroom. And we did a sphere that's on the left side behind everything, but then also on the right side, just to show that this sphere kind of wraps around. So that's why you see those two little pieces. You could use really any stamp for that, but a series of cuttlefish arm pieces are what we did for the three spots kind of on this right side. It would be to our right of the sea shroom's cap, and you want to take, of course, the cuttlefish kind of in between arm pieces, so near the cuttlefish's head, but then not the very, very far end tentacle arms, so it's just right in the middle, and you can see kind of the corresponding shape with the corresponding cuttlefish arm piece. And so then a circle was put down there as well, and an oval is what I actually just put down, and it's painted kind of a little bit darker green, of course, to distinguish, and a golf ball for a smaller circle, because the circle itself as a stamp can't shrink down small enough to what we need for that shape. And so then a hemisphere shape just to kind of end up on that left corner of the cap. And so then, of course, we just have an oval for the eye right there, the start of the eyes, I guess, so it's the black part. But then the oval can't shrink smaller than that. And so then, basically, to get the other eye that's to our right side, you know, that back eye that's a little bit farther away, I just use that same cuttlefish arm piece that is a little bit thicker, or I guess a little bit taller maybe, and you can see it in between that kind of three pieces of cuttlefish arm that we have on the cap. It's that same one that's sort of in the middle on that right side. And so then just a P, P-E-A, and a dot you can use as the little white glimmer in the eyes, whichever you think looks better, and then a pimple to get the very tiny little shiny shimmering and glimmer shine to it. So a pimple is for the smaller little white dot there. And so then just another cuttlefish arm piece from the top cap that we used earlier to be, it's all painted black to be kind of the opening in the mouth right there, which the mouth itself, kind of the lips, I guess you could call it, that's an oval again. And so we do have another jellyfish tentacle piece right there, kind of, basically it's like the segment where the lips are first coming off of the face. Those are two lines. Those jellyfish tentacle pieces are the lines that, you know, make it look like it is coming actually out and giving it shape. And so here is the properties editor. This is where you just kind of edit health and background information, what things are reacting to them like, what their weapons are, all that good stuff. And so during this segment of the video, I always like to read background information and fun facts about the characters that we create, and so we'll just read it about the fog levels in general. And of course, the fog levels are what comprises the fourth stage of the adventure mode campaign section of the Plants vs. Zombies first game, and of course, it's in the player's backyard, but during the nighttime, with a significant portion of the lawn covered in fog. This episode I'm doing today follows the episodes that came before it for the various plants of previous stages, and what I mean by this is I'm just creating the new plants that are unlocked in this stage and not the upgrade plants. Fog consists of these new plants, so expect to see each of these: the sea shroom, which we've just created, plantain, cactus, blover, split pea, starfruit, pumpkin, and magnet shroom. Only if one of those just listed plants doesn't seem to be in this episode by the end, after you watch the whole thing, can you then tell me that I forgot one, because the truth is I don't forget, I categorize. So thank you. I hope everyone understands and appreciates the difference differences there on that. And the reason that we actually did start off with a box as the source object for that sea shroom was if you just started off with the sphere or kind of a circle to start off that body, you would think, oh, I'm going to save stamp space by doing that. Well, the circle or the sphere shrinks down into the water a lot more than the box does. Now, the smaller you make the box, the more it's also going to kind of be underwater. And of course, the sea shroom is really mostly floating kind of on top of the water, but the roots are below it. So the box was just a better way for me to get that look, although it still will go kind of under the water in Scribblenauts, unfortunately. Maxwell was the source object for our next creation. We took off the head and the legs and the arms and put down a Dimetrodon. That's this dinosaur, and took its kind of front leg, the upper kind of leg piece, I guess, and where it connects to the body. That'll be kind of the main body for the cactus here, the Plants vs. Zombies cactus. And so a golf ball is what I'm typing in after that. The golf ball is going to be the start of the mouth, but then we can also use we're going to kind of jump around to the pieces here because they're all going to need to formulate on the body in a specific, I guess a very specific place. And so I'm actually going to make the mouth, well, finish that up after we get down that squid tentacle piece, which was kind of like the eyebrow right there, the big brow. And then a cobra, the back tail piece, that was painted kind of this white creamy color for the eye right here. That would be to our left side. But then a whalefish is what I can use for the other eye on that right side. And the whalefish, it was that top fin of the whalefish, so the very top one. You're going to need to kind of grab on the end of that where the point is to get it successfully. PEA, that's for the little eye color right there, the red. And an amber, now that we have kind of the eyes down. Amber is what I'll use for the main parts of the lips, the outer lips, I guess, and then the space that's in there to show its mouth open will just be an oval. You could use another amber if you want, but the amber does have a little shine. It has a little white shiny mark on it. And so gravel, we can actually do this. This is a good way to save stamp space instead of using a ton of pebbles or something like that, or rocks or whatever you were imagining you were going to use down there. You could use gravel because that has 3 rocks on it, and we can put those down at the bottom, paint them brown to be kind of the dirt there at the bottom for the cactus, just down below. And then a viper fish, there's this one little point. It's like this triangular looking point almost, and that viper fish point is actually going to be very good for the points on the cactus here, so I like that. But then we'll go into the 29-page library of shapes, and on the 23rd page, there's a troglodyte back arm in the top right corner. If we take that, and we're basically going to use that for the cactus's arms, I know that it's not going to be fully getting rid of all the black lines and stuff because we're going to have to do it twice for each arm so that the arms are sort of 90-degree angles almost. And daffodil is what I'm going to put up here at the top for its head. Again, that's just to kind of get one stamp that can convey a lot of things because the design on its head is a little bit different than that, of course, in the real Plants vs. Zombies game. But this is Scribblenauts. You know, you work within the confines of the game. You try to add your own design flair to it if you want to, but I have kind of a mix of my own design flair, I guess, and then trying to also make it accurate to the games that they come from or the movies or whatever I'm creating things from. And so, of course, placing all these viperfish fin points for the cactus spikes, that's all coming together, but you saw that I was able to kind of get 3 there on the tips of the arms. That was by typing in a lily, and we just painted the lily flower red and put that behind the arms so that they show up in layer order behind. And so you saw the message hopefully just come up a little while ago for the reaching the stamp space. Scribblenauts Unlimited may be called Scribblenauts Unlimited, but it does actually have a limit to how many stamp pieces you can use to create your overall objects. A stamp is basically anything that we use to make the object that, you know, for instance, what you just saw, like the lily, the daffodil, the Dimetrodon piece, those viperfish pieces, the gravel, all of those are a stamp each, and so you do have a limit to how many you can use. We made the cactus shoot out a wedge as its weapon. The wedge is a red little spike, but it will shoot out backwards, so just be warned that it won't shoot out with the spike facing forwards, unfortunately. A lamppost is what you can start off with as the next source object and shrink that down, and I like the lamppost because of course you can turn it on and off like a lamppost should be and have that kind of light go on and off. A yarmulke was on the top of it, and then a P, that's what we're going to put on the very, very top just above that, and then it will go into the geometry library in Scribblenauts Unlimited. But just remember, if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, you're going to need to actually type in the name of this shape, and it's a rhombus. That's what we're using below the P right there. And then I'll go into the geometry library again in Scribblenauts Unmasked. You're going to need to type in trapezium. That's this kind of pinkish shape, and I'm giving it a very specific color pattern here. Well, actually, I'm kind of experimenting with a few of them. I think I'll go with this sort of like grayish, gravelly looking one right here. It's on the 3rd page of the color pattern pattern libraries. And so with that, you can then, of course, just paint that yellow, because this is going to be sort of the inner workings of the lamp right here, the plantern. And so I'm trying to get the right size and the right adjustments and everything, and then we'll put it back there in the layer order that it should go in. So then I'm going to take a drumstick, and you don't want the food, of course, you actually want the drumstick, and we're going to turn it upside down, place it right here in the middle of the lamp post that you've got right here in Scribblenauts, and then we'll take another trapezium shape and copy that for the other side. Right now you do see a little bit of that first trapezium poking out there at the top corner on the top left side, I guess, of that trapezium shape. We will cover that up pretty soon, so never fear. Baboon, we took the end tail piece of a baboon, and that'll be for both of the ends of the plantern right there, that lamp shade at the top. And then we're going to use the letter I twice on both sides to be the bottom outer parts. And so then a yarmulke, we can take that once again like we had at the very top there, and we can take the yarmulke to be on both ends here at the bottom corners, and that's for these little points kind of coming out. I like how this is shaping up, actually. This is pretty good. We're going to go with grills, GRILLZ, and the grills we can actually use to be this main post for the plantern coming down here, and then I'm going to go with a hairy fish, and this will be for one of these leaves, I guess, that's coming out. And again, this is going to cover up what I was talking about before with that piece of trapezium shape that was kind of showing that we didn't want to show the line for. Well, that hairy fish leaf piece can cover that up. A circle painted white, that's what we just placed down in there, and layer it behind that drumstick and whatnot, but of course ahead of the trapezium shapes above those. And then the cuttlefish, once again, we can kind of grab one of those connector pieces of the arm, so not the very end piece, but not the head, of course. One of those connector pieces, and just paint it the color of the eyes, which is orangish right here. Things are going to look a little bit askew because there is a light projected over it right now. If the lamppost was turned off, then it would be maybe that exact orange shade, but with the light, it makes it a little bit brighter. And so then a dot is what we can use now to be the kind of shine within the eye right there, and we used a pimple on the other one since the dot can't shrink down small enough for that back eye to the right side. And we'll copy that hairy fish fin once again as the leaf, and we'll make that be the leaf in the back. But then to kind of vary it up a little bit, we'll give this jaggedy leaf right here that's coming out on the right side. We'll make that the bottom jaw of a man-eating plant, and paint that green, of course. And then I'm going to take a croissant after typing that in. We'll move it all the way down, layer it behind that grills shape that we put down before, and a beak, we can place that down at the bottom, and that'll be for like two kind of root systems there for the plantern. And then let's see, we can go with another stamp right here for the other side, which I'm going to type in Archaeopteryx, and we'll take the back leg of the Archaeopteryx, the back foot, I guess I should say, and paint that a little bit brownish to match the color, and then go with a fish fin. Of course, you don't want the food fish, you want the animal, and that's going to be the stamp limit, as you might have just seen. The warning came up pretty fast, but the fish fin will be for the last kind of root foundation at the bottom. And so that looks good. I actually really like how the plantern turned out. You know, it's like such a simple thing that has kind of one main purpose in Plants vs. Zombies, which is to get rid of the fog, and so we actually have it scripted to destroy weather. So unfortunately that will mean any weather, but you can see as I'm just typing in fog right here, it will get rid of it after about 10 seconds, you know, or 10 frames, I should actually say. 10 seconds would be a lot longer. I meant 10 frames, and so that was how the scripting works, but again, it can be any weather, so I just typed in rain, and you'll notice that it got rid of that. Although that sort of makes sense, right? Rain creates the fog, maybe? Whatever. We'll start off with a plant as our next source object right here, and I'm going to shrink down the plant pretty small. We're going to place an amber kind of right here at the bottom of the plant, the very bottom of it, and then I'll type in a lily, and we're mainly using the lily actually just for the stem right here. And so the stem should be this kind of thin looking stem, painted green, with a sphere right now to be the middle where the face is going to be of this next creation, which is the blover. And so we've got a mola. I'll take the body of the mola, which is like a sunfish, and that's going to be for the three kind of clover leaves of the blover right here. Cuttlefish, we can go back once again to that same kind of middle arm connector piece. It's in the middle of the three different arms, and it's obviously, as I've explained, the middle connector piece from the head and the end. Paint them black, make it twice to be for the two eyes. Pimple is what we can can type in next, and that will be something that can shrink down small enough to be the little mouth right here for the blover. I do like the blover's design a lot. I'm not positive how it's going to look in the end for our design in Scribblenauts Unlimited, but this is mostly what we can do. We can't really make it spin like that. You know, you could start off with like a pinwheel or something and see if you can get it, but it would still spin a little bit different from how you want it. It also would have a hard time standing, I think, if I remember right. But basically for the script for this, it won't be exactly how it works in Plants vs. Zombies, because Scribblenauts Unlimited does have its limits, but basically we set it to when this object sees an object and then clicked filter, and under the filter we typed in Halloween because that will cover the zombies, but we also want it to shoot out the balloons, you know, so that's good. We could also make it weather again for like the fog and things like that. That could be good. And balloon actually needs to get a general category for party. Basically, it gets whittled down to a general category, and we'll wait 10 frames again. After it sees those objects, it will basically shoot out a huge wind. And so I did want it to shoot out wind, but wind is very small in this game. It makes lines go everywhere and things like that, but the huge wind will make it, I guess, a little bit more accurate. And so then the last kind of finishing touch for the blover's design here in Scribblenauts is going to be a squid upper tentacle piece, kind of again connecting the squid's body with the end tentacle pieces of it. And you can see that if I type in a zombie right here, that's going to actually just push it back a little bit, but it doesn't push it back all the way. And of course you would want to obviously make it a balloon zombie, you know, if this was like Plants vs. Zombies, but Scribblenauts Unlimited, we don't have our balloon zombie. I haven't created the zombies yet, question mark. But all right, we've got a split pea. Mostly the design is done here for the most part, except for it's kind of going with my design of a Hydra as the source object, which I used for the three-peater. So if you haven't seen the pool plants episode, please go back to the pool plants, which is on my channel. You'll see how I kind of made the three-peater out of a Hydra. You know, we removed a lot of the pieces of the Hydra except for the body, and the Hydra has 3 heads, and that's why it worked really well for the three-peater. But this being the split pea, we just kind of put those 2 heads on one of the Hydra head grids. So it's only going to shoot forwards in Scribblenauts Unlimited. Again, the game has its limits, but we've got a black mamba tail piece to be the leaf at the bottom, the front leaves, and then the back leaves were a man-eating plant as well. And again, you can look back to that pool plant as well as the first Plants vs. Zombies episode that I did to make the pea shooter. That sort of wraps up all of the design for the split pea here. And so, of course, we've scripted every plant in here that should attack zombies. We've scripted them to, under the behavior tab, you just do destroy and then Halloween, again, as the general kind of category for zombies. And so that'll work out nicely. I do like how that ended up, actually, for the split pea here. So this episode is already incredibly long, so we're gonna have to move quickly. We've got the STARFRUIT. I started off with MAXWELL as the source object, just put a star over that. This is all applied to MAXWELL's torso, so make sure that all the little stamps that you're putting down do hit on the torso when you place them. And so then I just did a dart fish, and then we'll go with a hairy fish and just grab the little fin pieces of those that correspond to these shapes. And dots were used for the eyes all over, as well as the little cheeks right there. You can see his shiny cheeks. And so then if you take the mola, but this time instead of the body, we'll take the little fin of it next to the body. You can take that mola piece and shrink it down small enough to be a good tooth right here, which is beneath the eyebrows. That's 2 eyebrows painted all the way black. And we went into the 29-page library and went to the 20th page, bottom middle arm piece. That's also there making up part of that mouth, part of those lips of the STARFRUIT, painted black, of course. And it shoots out a star right. You actually cannot use a star from space as a projectile, and so we've got the star right here. And yes, you can see that it is shooting the zombie how it should, and it's also got a script under the, just in the scripting tool, we made it so that after, of course, it loses or gains health, it'll become brave and everything, but it'll also shoot out a projectile of a star right. And whenever it sees a zombie, it'll shoot it out. And we made that repeatable so it can keep doing it. But all right, we started off with a glue as the source object for our next creation, which is the PVZ pumpkin right here. And so a goldfish, we can take that top fin of it, and that makes a good kind of stamp for the eyes right here. They have that little curve in it and the curling around. I'll go with a dartfish once again, and we'll grab that same kind of upper dorsal fin right there, and then put that kind of in the corner of the right eye. And we just took another goldfish fin for the left eye in that corner so that it kind of shows that there is some more pumpkin-y outline to it, like you just carved those shapes out or something. Glow stick, paint that this dark brown color. color, that's for the main part of the mouth right here in the middle. But for the teeth that are kind of all around that, you can see these square looking pieces. Those are marshmallow. And so we did that a few times right here, 3 times. And so then I'm going to type in Shambler to show you that if you take that back top arm up there, that is sort of the curvy, wavy mouth right there for both sides of the pumpkin. And then we've got a halo at the top right here that I'm taking away to be sort of that top outer rim of the pumpkin. Fang was those kind of chips that are in that outer rim. And then a letter I was the sort of opening there in the top of the pumpkin. Hairy fish, that same fin piece that we've been using a lot for leaves and things. Well, we use that for the nose right here of the pumpkin. And mola, the body piece, we just did that several times to make the main basic shape of the pumpkin right here. You can see me taking away all of them now with the glue down there in the middle of all of that. And the glue, the purpose of that is so that we can, of course, attach it to any of our creations right here. So like how the pumpkin works, you know, it looks like it will shield them and they're kind of sticking up out of it. I know it would be great if they could kind of sit inside of it. We just gave the pumpkin a hell of a lot of health, but it's looking good. I'm just kind of applying it to all the different objects that we have right here, all the characters that we've put down on the map right there. And so I won't put it in the water with the sea shroom though. We'll place it down here and we'll go with our last creation here, which is going to be the magnet shroom. And so starting off with a plant as the source object, once again, this is going to be a little bit difficult to get, I guess, nailed down exactly like how Plants vs. Zombies has their magnet shroom, but we will go with a magnet. You don't always want to use kind of whatever's most obvious to you, but sometimes you do. It's just sort of a pick and choose when the design can actually suit you to actually go with something so obvious. So the magnet will just be the kind of faceplate of the magnet though, and then we're going to give it some depth, make it look a little bit more 3D here and just more detailed. Because if we just stopped with what I've done right here that you see on screen, I don't think it would be as accurate. A kidney bean, I kind of gave it a color pattern and painted it that pinkish purple color. A sugar cube was for the stem kind of going down below, and of course cover up that plant down there, and that's kind of what we're doing actually now at the top with the sailfish. We took a fin of a sailfish, that bottom fin, and that's going to be for a little bit of the depth here on the kind of center of the magnet shroom's magnet. But then for the top of it, we're going to need parallelogram shapes, so you're going to need to type that in if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, as I said before, but then take the trapezium shape for the sides of it. So the parallelograms are for the top kind of depth, but then the trapezium shapes will be for the side depth, if that makes sense. And we'll go with that sailfish fin once again to be the kind of outer layer of depth right here. It's kind of bright, but it's on the left side of the magnet shrooms, kind of magnet body, I guess. And then the crane, we'll take the bird crane, of course. You can also kind of accomplish the same shape with the cuttlefish middle pieces that we've been using a lot, but these are going to be the eyes. The crane is just another piece you can go with for a different stamp. Pimple to be the shininess in the eyes once again. A grenadier, the fish, you can actually see 3 different results come up when you type that in, but we're going to go with the fish one, of course, and grab the fin of that, paint it this dark green color. Those will be for some little eyebrows above the eyes there of the magnet shroom. And so you can see some light scripting going on right here. Basically, we've got it to be when this object sees an object, and we will go into the filter once again and make it be metal. And so once it sees the metal, then we'll go to, then this object will stick to an object, and so we'll have it stick to it. The only thing that you're going to see different with that compared to the game, of course, is that if you put down the metal, it will stick to it no matter how far it is away from it. Normally, of course, the game Plants vs. Zombies, it only magnetizes when it gets to a certain distance away, and it's pretty close. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in here. And so I love the design of all of these. I love the design really of all Plants vs. Zombies plants in general, but these fog plants are looking pretty good. So here they all are on the level right there, looking pretty epic. So a lot of stuff on this episode did have to be sort of rushed out and hurried because I was sick for a lot of the days of the week, and then my wife was sick. I think she caught it from me. So unfortunately, it hasn't been very easy in the Kendo household. So I've been scrambling to try to get these creations for you, get it all out, but I do hope that you enjoyed it. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you like what you see, comment on what you want to see next, and if it's most popular or most requested, it will get created. And so I will catch you guys on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return, to the rest of our lives as the spectacle begins. I've been down the road